Hello, this is Newslive on Viewer Television. I am Joy Malik. The headlines. FEC honors Kaduna train attack victims with minutes of silence. Governor Autumn's aide laments as herdsmen kill deeper life pastor and 3 others. Plus, Australia's flood-ravaged east hit by new storms. Now, the Federal Executive Council in Abuja observed a minute silence at its meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari to honor the victims of the Abuja-Kaduna train attack which happened on Monday night. Now, at the start of the meeting, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, called for a minute of silence for the 8 departed souls, which included a medical doctor, Chinelu Megafu, Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress, Musa Lawa Ozigi, Kwara State Chairman of TUC, Akin Akinsola, among others. Now, over 46 persons were also injured, with several others kidnapped. In a meeting with Secretary Chiefs, the President ordered an immediate search and rescue operation for the kidnapped passengers, while ordering the military to deal decisively with terror groups trying to hold the nation to ransom. Still on the Kaduna train attack, a civil society organization, Northern Advocacy for Peace, has called for the immediate resignation of the service chief or be sacked by President Muhammadu Buhari. The group said the recent attack on the Abuja-Kaduna train, Kaduna Airport, as well as the wanton killings and destruction of property in many parts of the country have shown that the service chiefs are incompetent and should leave or be made to leave. Now, in a statement on Wednesday by the leader of the group, Khalifa Shebu, the group said the president must be decisive in his actions as terrorists are shutting down the country. The Nigerian Senate has called on the Army and Air Force to, as a matter of urgency, bombard terrorist enclaves with a view to restoring peace and stability in the country. Now, this was just as the upper chamber called on President Muhammadu Buhari to declare full-scale war against terrorists so as to secure Nigerian territory. The reports.
In the northern part of Nigeria. It is a major route leading the northern parts to other parts of the country. As the bandits have chosen to threaten its relevance, so also the need for stakeholders to wage greater war against them. Senate has therefore come up with new resolutions as lawmakers resume sitting this week. The new resolution followed a motion sponsored by Senator Ubasani, who drew the attention of the upper legislative house to the bandits' attack on Kaduna-bound train on Monday night. Senator Sani recalled the attack on Kaduna-bound train carrying over 970 passengers around Kateri-Rigaza axis in Kaduna, just few kilometers to the Rigaza train station at about 7:45 p.m. on Monday.
It has been a reign of undiluted terror. Note that these latest attacks are aimed at instilling fear in the people and destroying the economies of our local communities. It is disheartening that these enemies of the people are getting emboldened by the day. They are becoming more brazen. These blood-curdling bonfires have no regard for human life. They have no place in civilized society. Note also that unrelenting attacks call to question the strategies and tactics being adopted by security forces. We expected that with the declaration of the bandits as terrorists by a court of competent jurisdictions, they will be degraded in no time. This appears not to be happening. The security forces must reassess their strategies and come up with workable and effective solutions to the menace.
A cross-section of lawmakers noted that Kaduna had become the new theater of insecurity, concluded then that terrorists have declared war against Nigerians and it is time for Nigeria to declare war against the terrorists.
It is safe and right, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, to conclude that terrorists have declared war against Nigeria, and I think it is time for Nigeria to declare war against these terrorists. Mr. President, we shouldn't allow this situation to continue where we lay back, They come to attack, then we repel, we try to do damage control and the like.
Mr. President, since we're inaugurated here, discussions on the security of our country has taken a large chunk of our discussion here. And I believe and feel that it is time enough for the appropriate authorities to have taken decisive actions to address the security in our country.
In Kaduna in person, Kaduna town and Kaduna state as a whole, no day they don't kill over 300 in a day. Every blessed day, no day that they don't kill souls, more than 300.
The Senate accordingly urged the Nigerian Army and the Air Force to carry out sustained bombardment of terrorist enclaves in the area, with a view to flushing them out and restoring peace and stability to the affected communities. Frequent attacks on the Abuja-Kaduna rail line has become an issue too many to bear. Observers are deeply worried over why the matter is not put under control.
Still in insecurity, 4 persons, including a pastor of Deeper Life Christian Ministry, were reportedly killed in separate attacks on some communities in Guma local government area of Benue State. Now, 2 women were reportedly shot dead by suspected headers on their farm. The Deeper Life pastor, identified as John Ajav, was said to have been killed by suspected herdsmen on his way to the local government headquarters at Bajimba to attend a religious function. Now, confirming the killings, the chairman, Guma local government area Caleb Abba, said there were separate attacks where 4 people were killed. The World Health Organization has certified the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control as a maturity trade regulatory agency. Now, this makes Nigeria the 3rd African country and few globally to attain this status. Making his announcement at a press conference on Wednesday in Abuja, the NAFDAC Director General Mojisola Adeyeye said that this feat could have been achieved without the tremendous support of President Muhammadu Buhari, who gave 736 million to equip laboratories. Now, the Sustainable Development Goals has donated 100 hospital beds and other equipment to aid healthcare delivery in Oyo State, while presenting the items received from the SDGs office in Presidency, Abuja, to the Oyo State Ministry of Health. The senior special assistant to Governor Sheyi Makinde on SDGs, Kunle Yusuf, said the items were received due to the cordial relationship between the Oyo State SDGs office and the office of the OSSAP at the presidency.
Of SDG is very important among the 70 global goals of SDG, majorly because if you don't have access to good health, it will be very difficult to achieve the 70 global goals of SDG. On this note, please kindly permit me to use this very opportunity to appreciate His Excellency Engineer Sheyi Makinde for building his policy and program around the 70 global goals of SDG using his 4-pillar agenda. The 4-pillar agenda of this administration is cycling with the 17 global goals of SDG and 232 indicators of SDG. This afternoon, we are here to do the handing over of the hospital, 100 hospital bed and its components to the Ministry of Health and the Primary Care Board.
In his response, the Commissioner for Health, Dr. Bode Ladipo, appreciated the SDG for the donation, stating that the items will be judiciously distributed to the health facilities in need.
Donations are meant to actually improve whatever kind of healthcare service delivery that we have to the people of Oyo State. We do not have more choice than to applaud, thank those that have given us this support, and we hope as Oliver Twist, that support will not stop. I wish to say that at this point, what you have given us will be judiciously put into use, and I will wish to perhaps invite you to look at them maybe a year from now to see that these things are utilized as appropriate. It is an honor to actually put heads together with you to try to see how we can move the health system forward.
Also, the Chairman, State Implementation Committee of SDGs and Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning, Professor Musbal Babutude, said that the Oyo State government was committed to delivering quality health service to the people.
What we are trying to do today is to support health care delivery in Oyo State at the primary level and at the secondary level. Because if you take a look at it, we are currently working around 351 primary health care centers. Some are already ongoing now. So when we hand over this kind of resources today, definitely it's going to complement the health care delivery services.
When Newslive returns, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has arrested a drug kingpin heading a syndicate operating at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. Now, Yunusa Fidelis and 6 other members of his gang. Details of these and more comes to you right after the break. Just stay tuned.
Of polo, it's my life. Polo is good, though I just started and I'm still learning the basics. But I hope to be a pro in this game, and God being by my side, I know everything will be fine. I started 4 months ago. I started stick and ball 4 months ago, though I attended the riding course in Pakistan. I've learned the riding basics, but the game of polo 4 months ago, I started stick and ball. Every day we mount on the horse, we pray. And once you come down, as you can see, I was about ending and I fell from the horse. It's a normal thing. In horse riding, if you don't fall, you've not started yet. So you need to train. You can see I'm sweating, I'm eating banana, it's part of it. You must train, you must eat well, and you must learn properly. I've chosen polo to be my own sport, and I've always looked up to people like General Kazil Fire, General MSA Aliu, Colonel Waibelu, and General Laka. Few of them, I've looked up to these people. These are great polo players, and they've always encouraged me to play the game of polo.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Newslive on Viewer Television. Now a recap of our top stories. FEC honors Kaduna train attack victims with minutes of silence. Governor Autumn's aide laments as herdsmen killed the Life pastor and 3 others. Plus, Australia's flood-ravaged east hit by new storms. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has arrested a drug kingpin heading a syndicate operating at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, Yunusa Fidelis, and 6 other members of his gang. Now, Director, Media and Advocacy and the LEA headquarters, Abuja, Femi Babafemi, who disclosed this in a statement on Wednesday, said the Lagos Airport Drug Syndicate was behind the recent smuggling of 1,584,000 tablets of Tramadol. He said the drugs were seized by NDLEA operatives in collaboration with Aviation Security and Customs Service personnel at the airport. Babafemi said the seizure included 17 cartons of 250 mg Tramadol branded as Tamra, weighing 669.70 kg, and 5 cartons of 225 mg Tramadol under the brand name Royal with a gross weight of 217.15 kg. Now moving about to education sector, according to the United Nations Children's Fund, at least 26% of schools in Nigeria's northeast have been targeted by suicide bombers. It said an approved system of school data collection, analysis and usage would help bridge the gap caused by protracted conflicts in the education sector. The chief of the Maiduguri Field Office, UNICEF, Yogen, said this in a statement. According to Ngoyen, 50 government education officers in the Northeast region have been trained in the collection of quality data with support from the European Union. She added that the capacity building initiative would serve as evidence to guide interventions in the education sector. Senator representing Gombe Central, Mohammed Guje, empowered no fewer than 1,000 youths with 30,000 naira each to support their businesses. Now, the 1,000 youths joined from Yamal to Deba and Akko local government areas of the state were trained in various skills by the National Directorate of Employment towards attaining self-reliance. Now, speaking shortly after the presentation of the seed money, Goje urged them to utilize the money for the sake it was provided, adding that it was in line with his vision of elevating the sufferings of the people. Goje had initially supported the beneficiaries with food packages as well as starter packs comprising toy machines and power generating sets to boost their business. The Foundation for a Better Environment and Aspire Coronation Foundation, both environmental, non-government organizations, have trained over 4,000 school children on environmental sustainability skills. The founder of FAPE Group, Temitope Okunu, said this in an interview at the graduation of the students in Lagos.
Engage in climate action. This project is dear to our hearts because of the urgent need to solve the climate crisis and to solve it differently with skills we can adopt personally.
Founder of FAPE Group, Musirat Banire, noted that training school children in sustainable skills like recycling, upcycling and sustainable gardening would bring up attitudinal and behavioral changes in young people and those connected to them.
Think about our environment, own our environment, make it a sustainable environment. How do we make it a sustainable environment? An environment that we can bequeath onto our generation yet unborn, an an environment that will be useful to us, that will give us good health, that will give us what we wanted in terms of good food, is going to help us to achieve the sustainable development goals.
And on gender-based violence, National Human Rights Commission has given a synopsis of the complaint profile of the Commission in 2021, saying it receives over 1.7 million cases cutting across 14 thematic areas, out of which over 900,000 were on women and children. Tony Ojukwu, Executive Secretary, National Human Rights Commission, who was represented at the occasion by the Director of Women and Children in the NHRC, Harry Obey, said it is in a bid to achieve a coordinated response to the critical issues of gender-based violence that the Commission is collaborating with Roost Foundation on current state of affairs of domestic, sexual and gender-based violence cases in Nigeria.
SGBV in the country. A synopsis of the complaint profile of the Commission in 2021 will give clarity in this regard. In the year 2021, the Commission received a total of 1,701,357 cases cutting across 14 thematic areas, out of which 913,197 cases amounting to 53.67% were on women and children alone. Of the above total, 158,507 cases were on SGBV, and that is 17.36% of the total women and children cases came from SGBV alone. It is therefore in furtherance of the Commission's quest for a coordinated response that it is collaborating with Roost Foundation on the current state of affairs of domestic, sexual and gender-based violence cases in Nigeria, with a view to appraising efforts, identifying gray areas, and preferring solutions to this menace. As you may kindly recall, in the year 2020, the Commission made a clarion call on all stakeholders during its 1 week of activism, with the team join the fight against rape and SGBV.
In her remarks, the executive chairman of Roost Foundation, Julie Okadunli, said that recently there has been an unprecedented rise in cases of domestic violence, sexual exploitation and abuse, sexual assault and harmful practices against men and women.
Recently, there has been an unprecedented rise in cases of domestic violence, sexual exploitation and abuse, sexual assault and harmful practices against men and women. Young girls have been raped and brutally murdered at worship centers, at homes, in public places. Young boys have been sodomized in schools and even by religious leaders and family members. And I ask, if homes, schools, public places, worship centers and so on are not safe for us and our children, where else can we find safety? Also worrisome is the continuous perpetration of harmful widowhood practices in some communities and total disregard for fundamental human rights of citizens. You will agree with me that this roundtable is timely and crucial, especially at a time when incidences of sexual and gender-based violence attract social media outcry without enough action to complement words. Again, I ask, what happens after the social media outcry? Do we all move on with our lives and wait for the next incident before crawling out of our shells? How long will this trend continue? The aim of this roundtable is to appraise efforts, identify gray areas, and proffer solutions. And the following outcomes are envisaged from this roundtable: getting justice for victims of SGBV whose cases have been pending or whose cases have not even been filed in courts at all.
Handled totally by all men and women of goodwill. It is a war that should be fought by all men and women of goodwill. All, every Nigerian who loves this country, who loves and respects his mother, who love and respect womanhood must join the army to condemn all forms of violence against women.
The Nigerian Shippers Council has expressed deepened commitment to the actualization of the sealing project in the country. Imana Gmail, Nigerian Shippers Council Executive Secretary, said this when a chairperson sealing transnational company Dabney Shalmol led a team to visit him in Abuja.
Can be effective in its trade unless and until there is connectivity. And in connectivity, here we're talking particularly the waterways that we have. I have to commend the vision of those who set up this initiative. And I believe, again, Madam takes a lot of credit for that. So when you're asking for partnership and support by way of advocacy, you're pretty much just singing to the choir. That is our responsibility here, particularly at the Shippers Council. And this has to do, I believe, with the fact that as the mandate of the council is essentially to protect shippers, that we are also in a position to engage in the kind of advocacy that ultimately is to their benefit. So just take it as a given, that advocacy is what we're going to do in partnership, of course.
Earlier, the managing director of Nixon Bank, presented by his technical advisor Hope Yongu, also expressed the bank's commitment to the project.
Engage in the kind of advocacy that ultimately is to their benefit. So just take it as a given, that advocacy is what we're going to do in partnership, of course.
We need the support of the transportation sector to really not take the lead, and that's why we are here asking for joint advocacy. And we are mindful and hopeful that we should truly launch sealing officially for both continental and inland waterway by June. That's the target we have set up for ourselves. We have been talking, like she said, we have been talking to 3 shipyards. One in Finland, one in Norway, and one in China. They are all willing to provide all the crafts. We've been talking to the export credit agency. So those vessels are going to come in credit structuring that we have already undertaken and have negotiated upon. So just to tell this gathering that we want to deepen and broaden Nigerian respect.
There is no MOU we have signed in the past. The Shippers Council has not been present. What we want now is for you to be actively involved.
And on business news today, the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria has criticized private depot owners over the recent increase in the pump price of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, in some states. Now, according to reports, some independent marketers are still selling petrol between 180 naira and 200 naira per litre in the respective filling stations, especially Lagos and its environs. As a result, the IPMAN National President Chinedu Okoronkwo said that some of the private depot owners had not reduced their X price for PMS. According to him, some members of the association are still buying the products at higher X depot prices. This, he said, was the reason some marketers were still selling more than the approved pump price of 165 naira. Okoronkwo noted that the scarcity of PMS experienced across the country in the past few weeks was almost coming to an end. The House of Representatives Committee on Police Affairs has invited the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, and the Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, over the non-implementation of the 20% salary increment for police officers and men of the Nigerian Police Force for the federal government. The chairman of the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission, ECBO Inter, and the Director General of the Budget Office, Ben Akabueze, are also to appear before the committee. The chairman of the committee, Ben Lukumo, directed the committee's clerk to write those invited on the issue during the public hearing on 3 bills in Abuja. Now, Kumo stated that there was the need to meet with the government officials and find out why the directive and upwardly review police remuneration had yet to be implemented. The lawmaker also stated that the police should be excluded from the envelope budget system. Clearing agents operating in the nation's maritime sector have threatened to embark on a fresh strike if the Nigerian Customs Service fails to review its price charts for imported vehicles. Now, according to the agents, the customs current price charts for the duty payments on imported vehicles are old and overvalued. This is coming 3 weeks after the NCS suspended for 1 month its vehicle identification number e-violation policy for imported vehicles, asking freight forwarders to clear their backlog of vehicles trapped in the ports. In an exclusive interview with the Tinkan Island chapter's chairman on the National Council of Managing Directors of Licensed Custom Agent Abayomi Duyele, the agent said although the NCS had reverted the manual system for duty assessments, the duties were still about 40% higher than current market realities. The World Bank has said that poverty reduction stagnated since 2015, with more Nigerians falling below the poverty line over the years. President Muhammadu Buhari was first elected into the office of President of Nigeria in 2015. According to the Washington-based bank, the number of poor Nigerians is projected to hit 95.1 million in 2022. It said this in its report titled A Better Future for All Nigerians, 2022 Nigerian Poverty Assessment. The report further revealed that the COVID-19 pandemic pushed over 5 million more Nigerians into poverty by 2022. Now, according to the report, about 90 million Nigerians are expected to be poor by 2022. However, due to the pandemic, the projection increased to 95.1 million Nigerians. On the news around the world, the Australian coastal enclave of Byron Bay was inundated by floodwaters as several storms battered stretches of the country's east. Torrential rain began on Monday with more than 250 millimeters, that is 9.8 inches, falling in the area in 24 hours, forcing many shops in the Byron Bay town centers to close as roads were cut off by rising water levels. By Wednesday morning, there were 10 evacuation orders in place across the affected region, urging thousands of people to leave their homes for higher ground. For weeks, Australia East has been smashed by extreme weather, followed by La Nina weather patterns and climate change. Record rainfalls and deadly flooding have killed at least 22 people since early February. The South Asian nation of 22 million people in its worst economic crisis since independence in 1948, sparked by an acute lack of foreign currency to pay for imports. The state electricity and monopoly said it was imposing 10-hour power cuts, up from a 7-hour outage since the start of the month because there was no oil to power thermal generators. More than 40% of Sri Lanka's electricity is generated from hydropower, but most of the reservoirs were running dangerously low because there had been no rains. At least more than 2 hospitals reported suspending routine surgeries because they were dangerously low on vital medical supplies, anesthetics and chemicals to carry out diagnostic tests and wanted to save them for emergency cases. Now let's take it to Israel, where 5 people were killed in gun attacks near Israeli coastal city of Tel Aviv in the 3rd fatal gun or knife spill in the Jewish state in a week. Now, Israeli police later confirmed that security forces had killed an assailant but did not reveal his identity. Residents of Bilbrank and the neighboring town of Ramat Gan reported that a man had driven around and opened fire at passers-by. Prime Minister Naftali Bennett said he would convene an emergency meeting with top security officials to review the situation. This marks the 3rd deadly attack in Israel in the span of 1 week. Four people, including a child, were killed in clashes between Islamic State group fighters and Kurdish forces in northeast Syria camp housing relatives of jihadists. Now, around 56,000 people live in Al-Hol, an overcrowded Kurdish-run camp for displaced people that has been plagued by murders and regular escape attempts. The camp hosts about 10,000 foreigners, including the wives and children of ISIS fighters, who are detained in a high-security annex guided by Kurdish forces. The clashes resulted in the death of a man, a woman and a child, and the killing of one member of the ISIS cell. And that's all on Newslive, but before we go, recap of the headlines. FEC honors Cardinal train attack victims with minutes of silence. Governor Autumn's aide laments as headsmen kill Deeper Life pastor and 3 others. Plus, Australia's flood-ravaged East hit by new storms. Please stay tuned for the rest of our programs. Many thanks for watching. Good night.